Here.
David Craycraft.
Here.
Roger White here. Dr. Scott Kelly.
Here.
Whit Wardell.
Here.
Linda Boving.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion that we excuse Rich Dobda from this evening's meeting.
I'll second.
Roll call. David Craycraft.
Yes.
Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Linda Boving.
Yes.
Roger White, yes. Whit Wardell.
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes. Can I get an approval of minutes for the April 24th, 2023 Landmarks meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 24th.
Second? I'll second.
Roll call. Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Whit Wardell.
Yes.
Linda Boving.
Yes.
Pete Lynch.
Yes.
David Craycraft.
Yes.
Roger White, yes.
Pending applications?
The first application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-017. Address is 42 West Columbus Street. The request this evening is for a new fence design on the west side of the property that faces Liberty, about where my mouse is highlighted on the screen. Up on the screen is a photograph of the subject home. This is a new build in September of 2016 that was approved by the Landmarks Commission. Shortly after, in 2017, the Landmarks Commission approved this fence style on the west side of the property facing Liberty Street. With the construction and renovations on the property, with the 2021 approval for an in-ground swimming pool and patio addition on the north side of the home, the applicant has replaced the fence style to what's attached on the screen here. The city notified them that they need to get reapproval from the Landmarks Commission for the new fence style, and so it's here this evening for your guys' review and comments.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
What was the reasoning to go to the horizontal fence?
Just a client request. They put in a new pool and we're looking for some more privacy and wanted to change that elevation.
The section of the fence that runs the other direct, because it's all three sides, are they the same, or is it?
They are not, no. That rear elevation is a 6-foot privacy fence as well in a vertical orientation.
Are they planning on changing that too?
They do not have plans to change it right now. Originally, the fences did not match from that elevation to the rear elevation.
Because the rear, they're tight together.
Yes, correct, yes.
So there's a lot more privacy on the rear fence than there is on the side fence.
So the rear fence and the previous fence here that was taken down, looks like it's in the same style, other than this being shorter and space between.
Yeah, it steps, exactly, yes. Goes from privacy to maybe semi-private.
But it looks like the fence that you have now is higher at the garage side?
That is correct, yeah,
Is
it's
it
6 foot
all the
throughout.
way down?
Correct.
Travis, was there any discussion to matching it up to the rear fence so we didn't have two different styles going on?
No, we asked the question when they requested for this fence to be swapped out, and what came back from the client was, no, I just want to change this elevation to a horizontal.
And Andrew, there was no, in 2021, when the pool was approved, there was no talk of the fence, correct?
The fence was shown on the application, just to show that the pool was fenced in, but the fence was shown to not change.
Yeah, it was
on that
not,
prior
wasn't the
application.
plan.
Planning on keeping it natural?
Yes, yeah, letting it gray out.
I mean, personally, I like the rear fence and the tight boards. I think that affords privacy. And I think the rear fence is 6 foot high.
So- Definitely could match. Andrew, is there any setback? Is it okay where it's setting? Obviously, we approved it there. It was being on a side street. This is on a corner, so we have both front and side street.
Yeah, the location of this fence is appropriate.
Okay. But the height-wise, is it okay for it to be 6 foot here?
Correct.
Okay. I personally feel like this is, it definitely is not a historical fence. It looks like what's in the rear. This looks a little bit something more like a newer subdivision to me. I think if it matched the rear and kept in that same style at that height, I don't have a problem with it. That's my take.
Is there any support on those horizontal boards? In other words, you got the post, and the boards are, what's to?
The posts are between, or the horizontals are between the posts.
Right, is there any boards that are vertical to keep them from warping? The new boards?
No. Those are a little bit less than 8-foot span, so.
Okay. And the thickness of these boards are what, 3/4 of an inch?
3/4 in a rough sawn, so you get about 7/8.
Is it possible that with that being 8-foot spans, it looks like it's a little wider than it is high? 6-foot fence, 8-foot span, is that correct?
It's true, yes, it is 6 foot tall. The span could be, it's 8 foot or less, I guess.
So it is possible to remove those slats and possibly
Anything's
put them on vertically?
We don't say no to much.
I wish this was something that they would have come back and talked to us about, because I think, again, in my opinion, if this was submitted, I would have denied this application for the horizontal.
Is there a criteria for fence style in the area
This is not a historic style of fence.
based on?
Find me a picture of a horizontal fence like that in a historic neighborhood. I've never seen one.
They do exist, I didn't bring them with me today, but they do exist. Frank Lloyd Wright's been doing horizontal fences since the early 1900s.
Seeing as how there was no mention of the fence in the 2021 application, and the fence was taken out and changed, that discussion would have been good to have prior to installing this one. I'll let everybody else speak on what they think of the horizontals, but that's my take on it.
Does it make any difference to the commission if there weren't two different styles on the property? As long as both sides are consistent? I hear some discussion on the consistency of the back from the side, and the desire for them to stay different, but if it means maybe an option for the applicant to make them consistent one way or another, does that make a difference to the board?
Well, I think making them consistent would require probably changing the entire back alley fence altogether, where this one can be modified. Am I incorrect there? Aside from,
I mean, they both could, it's a modification to one or the other, so it's about 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. I mean, obviously, the client's leaning more towards the horizontal, so
what is on the eastern neighbor side?
I believe that's the neighbor's fence.
It is a 6-foot dog-ear picket
Vertical.
fence. Vertical.
Okay.
I mean, I prefer the fence similar to what the backyard is.
I agree. It's pretty, even with the space between, it's pretty difficult to see in. I can definitely understand wanting to keep it tight, but I think it needs to match.
I mean, I think the other fence, the vertical with the boards butted together, can't afford as much privacy as what this horizontal is. I'm just not a fan of this particular style in this neighborhood.
I'll second that. Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve CA 23017.
I'll second.
Roll call, please. Dr. Scott Kelly,
No.
Roger White, no. Linda Bovee,
No.
Whitmore Dell,
No.
Pete Lynch,
No.
Rich Dobda,
No.
David Craycraft.
No.
For the applicant's benefit here, with the fence that was installed not being approved, is there any discussion from the commission on having it swapped to match the rear or to go back to what was there previously?
Well, I think the rear is what Pete was talking about. That would be fine, I think.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the
Yeah.
spacing in the slats as long as it matches the rear fence. And it looks like the way it's constructed, it can be done without taking the whole thing down. Maybe a little work on the caps.
Was the rear fence, there's no spacing in the rear fence, is there?
Correct.
Right, yeah.
It's tight.
Can I get a new motion then from the commission with the condition as mentioned?
We just make a motion to approve it with that.
I just think for clarity of the application, if you're voting to approve it as presented and there's no conditions to change it and it voted down, then it goes back to what was on the screen today. But if you're approving something different than what was there before, it has to be a new motion to change it.
So if we approve it with a recommendation, but then we vote no, does that override
The
recommendation?
The recommendation would be the change. Voting yes would be on the recommendation,
Okay.
not on what's installed.
Roger, you want to redo that?
Yeah, why don't you do it?
Okay.
Are we saying we want this new fence to mimic the back fence, the alley fence?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Go for it, Dave. You want me to do it? I'll make a motion for application CA-23-017 with the recommendation that the fence that was replaced be rebuilt to match the fence along the alley side.
Second.
Roll call, please.
David Craycraft,
So this would be a yes.
I'm still confused about that, Andrew.
So you voted no on what is on the screen.
So we've got two motions, that's okay.
And this will be canceling out the last one. I'm asking if you guys want to redo your last motion because you did not give the applicant an alternative to change from what's on the screen from what was built in 2021.
Correct, but they're still asking for approval, so do we still vote no, even though it has a recommendation?
Your recommendation would be, if you vote yes, you are voting to approve with the change that it matches the rear.
Does that satisfy you?
Yes and no. I'll take it back to my client, but that's better than where we're currently at.
Okay. Roll call, please.
David Craycraft,
Yes.
Rich Dobda,
Yes.
Pete Lynch,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Roger White, yes. Whitmore Dell.
Yes.
Linda Bowden.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a notation that Rich Dobda has joined us this evening.
I'll second.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-018. The application is for 185 Washington Street. The applicant is requesting for a new metal roof and gutters on the subject property. The subject residential home, from our records, was constructed between 1835 and 1850. The historic registry notes that this home originally had a wood shingle roof. The agricultural buildings behind the subject property were moved to its current position when the Washington Knolls neighborhood was constructed. I thought that was helpful information, just for the history of the property for you guys. This property has not been before the Landmarks Commission previously. The applicant is seeking approval to replace the asphalt shingle roof on the home with a new double lock standing seam metal in the color medium bronze. A sample has been provided by the applicant. The existing metal roof on the covered porch will remain and is in the color Jefferson tan, which is the second sample material. The applicant's also requesting for new gutters and downspouts to match the secondary roof color, the Jefferson tan. Here are some photographs of the property. Here you can see the color being requested for the main roof, the existing metal roof color that is on the east side of the home that the applicant wishes to retain. And then in this photo as well, you can see the copper gutters, or copper downspouts. Are they copper gutters too?
Gutters and,
Applicants wishing to replace those with a standard K-style in the Jefferson tan to match the trim.
actually, the back porch roof will also be medium bronze.
Okay.
The only Jefferson tan plays in for the gutters and downs only.
So on that, the elevation that we're looking at now, that's the rear,
Correct,
right? So you're taking the metal off the
yes,
porch and making it all medium bronze?
correct,
The house and the porch?
yes.
So, I'm sorry, Don, do you have a porch on the back of the house also, or we were
No, just-
discussing this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll all match, all be one color,
Yes,
the roof, okay. Your existing gutters, are they half rounds?
half round. And I'll have to go to conventional, because the only way you can hang those is through the roof, and they don't want to do that. You can see those are strapped right now. So I'll have to go to a conventional aluminum type,
Not able to fasten up under the metal?
correct.
Will all of the copper downspouts stay?
Gonna take them down.
And those will be in that lighter color as well?
Yes, the Jefferson tan. The gutters and downspouts.
So the gutters and downspouts will be Jefferson tan, the roof will be medium bronze?
I'm sorry,
The gutters and downspouts will all be the Jefferson tan,
yes,
and the roof will be medium bronze?
correct.
Did your gutter contractor discuss any options on mounting those half rounds other than the overlay strap?
No, actually, the only contractor we've talked with so far are the roofing contractors, and, I mean, it'd be nice to be able to use the half rounds, but they're really not adequate anyway. Kind of glad to get them going.
Are yours fours that are on there now?
Are they
4 inch?
what?
Are they 4-inch?
Yes,
It's on the house now. Probably doesn't
it might
continue.
be.
So when you say they're not adequate, they don't catch the water?
No.
Or is
just-
there a lot
it's-
of overflow?
It's just not a real great setup the way it is.
It's a fast roof, and it's about.
Well, when it's
about to
metal,
get even
yeah.
faster. So they tend to overflow if they're not sixes. but they're
If I could
sixes.
add something, please, Don can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that the gutter is continuous like new gutters are today. You know, they're longer spanned, there's less places where they're connected together, and you don't get drip through the pieces. Is that not true? Is that true? We have places that drip real easy with this gutter. It's just older in the way it's constructed, being it's an older style and an older gutter. Is that, am I correct?
Somewhat.
Because we used half round on my house. You put
We
that on.
did. There's definitely other ways to mount it in a 6-inch. So on Dr. Kelly's house, we used a combination of 4s and 6s. So in a place like this, a 6-inch half round's gonna hold up a lot better for you than a 4.
And I have a metal roof too.
Yeah, it's just difficult to hang them is the biggest problem, I think.
No, they make a dish, so if this is your fascia, there's a plastic piece that comes off and it cradles it, so it doesn't have to mount to the top like the old ones did. So there are ways to do it. Is there gutter, so just on this end of the house, this side of the house and the other, is there any along the back side?
No,
Okay. So you have a back screen porch on the back, correct?
yeah, it's actually a side porch, but
Oh, okay,
your left picture is north and,
facing the field.
yes,
Okay. And it has, is that gutter staying, or are they all being?
it'll stay.
Okay. And it is newer? Is that gutter a box style, a newer style, or is it
It
also
is a
have?
newer style on the east side of the house towards the field, yes.
Okay.
How do you guys feel about the different color of gutters and downspouts versus the color of the main house?
Because going on that, you said some of this gutter is staying, right? What color is the current gutter that's staying?
What we have now is half round copper.
No, the second, you said one section was gonna stay.
That's on the east side of the house
Yeah.
towards the field, so it's not in either one of these
What color is
views.
that?
It's like a Jefferson tan.
Okay, it matches.
If I may, could I make a comment? We drove around German Village about a week or two ago, and we wanted to be sure that the decisions we made that pleased us was really the right thing. And as we drove around German Village, because we thought that was probably the best scenario with the style of brick houses, and they have a very top-notch and a tight, I'm sure, landmarks type thing for their properties as they're updated. And every home that I saw, and every gutter and every downspout matched the trim of the soffit and the windows. They were never did I see one, and I'm quite honest with you, we drove up and down a lot of streets. They were always matched, the window trim, the soffits, because if you're standing up underneath the front, you're looking up right where gutters are, and the gutters and the downspouts always match the trim, and they always match the window, and they were almost, always the same color. They didn't use 2 or 3 colors, because that's more in turn of the century where they use multiple colors. So at that time, that set it in our minds that we made the right decision, because we're used to the gutter and the downspouts, the copper that have turned a dark color, which copper does. And we wanted to be sure that we didn't choose a dark downspout just because we're used to having it against the brick. And that's why we decided then that we made the right decision, because, like I said, everything in German Village, the trim always matched the downspouts.
So the downspouts will be this color?
Yes.
Okay.
And that matches your windows?
Window
Yeah,
trim.
we got the closest colors. It's like, without it being made to match or by numbers chosen to match, it's almost exactly the same.
Dave, could I see this? I'm sorry.
And Don, you said you're getting snow breaks on the main roof
Yes.
section as well?
Yes. Front and rear. Yeah.
Thanks for explaining that, Vicki. That's good.
I mean, I hadn't thought about it, but I didn't realize that we drove around German Village to be sure that we made the right decision.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you did your due diligence on
we
similar
tried.
style homes
Mhm.
in a historic neighborhood.
Well, just for your information, it had originally a metal roof on it, and there was a fire in the 30s, and, actually in the 30s, it had a shake roof. And originally, when we were there, when we pulled the metal roof off, we went to the original and put shake back on, and it did not hold up, and we had to replace half the roof of the shake. And then when we were told we had to replace the other half, it just held too much moisture, and it didn't give us a 50 or 100-year life like we hoped it would. Then it would look very historic and original for the house. Well, we just decided we couldn't keep putting shake on and shake on and shake on, and that's why we went to the standard roof. But now that we feel that it needs to be replaced, that we've chosen to invest a very large sum of money to have top quality metal roof. And was more, maybe not original to the house, but it was very early to the house when they were putting metal roofs on barns.
Is the fascia in this picture that's shown here, is that fascia pitched or is it perpendicular to the ground?
It is pitched.
It is pitched with the roof.
That- I understand they do make some sort of rubber grommet to hang the gutters.
Well,
perpendicular.
you have to have a standoff either way for a box gutter or a round, it just depends on which one you buy. I think a 6-inch half round on your charming house is gonna be much more fitting. And I think a 6-inch from a 4-inch would make a lot bigger difference. Again, that's what we installed on Scott's, and I think he's got 36 feet of roof flooding off the back, and it does a pretty good job. Looks like you're just replacing the front and the back, since the back side porch, I should say, stays, correct?
Correct.
My recommendation, I love the roof, everything about it, I think you still get the same color matched in your coil. And to answer your question, the way they run half rounds, if you get the right company out, they will run it continuous. So it doesn't have to have the seams, and you still get the half round.
Have you priced different half-round options, Don?
We
or-
have not,
Is that something that you want to price and come back, or think about and come back and get approval for just the roof this evening? That way, just give you some options.
if we get roof and gutter approved tonight, does that mean we can't use half round at a later time? I'd have to get it approved.
If they approve the standard K style, and you wanted to do half rounds, you'd have to come back, or they could approve both, or they could, you could come back with more information for them at a later date for the gutters themselves. I guess you have some options on,
But we could approve the roofing tonight.
yeah. It's really a conversation to ask
Correct.
these guys, so I just wanted to make sure you knew
I'm
that.
sure you want to do it all at the same time.
We're starting to get a little tight on time also. We're scheduled for the middle of June.
My experience, and this could differ, my experience is that those half rounds are around 15% more than a standard box gutter now. They're not as bad as they used to be.
Is that
But you've got
galvanized
it.
or what is
They're
that?
galvanized, pre-painted, especially depending on the roof company you go with, but I know DMI, they'll actually roll that same metal out. Your contractor can buy the metal directly from the same company. So it's gonna match already, and they roll it right there on their truck.
What, a half round?
Correct.
And they're able to hang it with the right hangers and all?
Absolutely. Yeah, you wanna make sure you stay on top of them and make sure they're using the right hanger.
So it's a concealed hanger.
Correct.
Okay.
It's, when you have a box gutter hanging off of a fascia that's like this, it's like a little triangular piece and it keeps the gutter from doing this. Same thing with a half round, it's just a cradle.
Our problem right now is just a tight time restraint. And most contractors are really busy and really locked up for the summer. And you have to start someplace.
Sure.
And the roof is locked into a contract when they're going to do it, and we're having a hard time even trying to get people to come out now. And so we wanted to try to get this all done this summer, but you can't put a roof on and wait 6 months to put gutters on. And
Was the roofing company gonna do the gutters too?
Well,
That's another contractor.
they priced it, but
But
it's.
they'll sub it out,
It's new.
probably.
Well,
I don't think they want to do it because they
yeah, they priced
overpriced
it. They priced it high. It's Newman roof. And I know we can get it done at a little better price.
It's
I
pretty
guess-
easy to match colors up nowadays with half rounds, so I don't think that's gonna hold you up.
It's just the only thing that'll hold us up is finding a contractor who can do it for us in the time frame that we
I
need.
think that might hold you up either way.
I'm sorry?
I think that may hold you up either way, whether it's box gutters or half rounds. I feel on this house that your half rounds are much more appropriate, especially considering that's what's on there now. But I would upgrade it to a 6-inch from a 4.
Can you get gutter guard on 6-inch? Is yours 6-inch?
I don't have gutter guard on mine, I'm not sure.
I think it just applies different, because it's got a roll on that front edge, the gutter kind of comes up and rolls over in itself, so it has to fasten to the front. It's probably a little different than what you're gonna find in a K-style.
Yeah, that I'm not sure about.
So you're saying you can get half round in a collar choice?
Should be. Yeah, I haven't had any trouble matching it up to any metal. They try to make them pretty standard to the standing seams. And I know DMI does that. They're right there in Reynoldsburg.
Well.
Depends on
guess-
who you hire. Some guys will roll their own, and they've got to know where they get their material from. But Newman's a huge company. I guarantee they've matched up half-round gutters to their standing seam roofs before.
Well, what's the most efficient way to handle this? Because, like I say, we're in time constraints, and half round was not something we were gonna do. It'd probably look better on the house maybe, but I guess that's up for you guys.
I think it would look better. I like it on mine.
No, I think a roof, I think the gutter style that you have, the half round, is more appropriate to this type of house.
They tend to, with having a brick house too, and those rounds standing out, they look a lot better than the squared off K-style downspouts as well.
Well, what's the best way to handle it?
I would make a recommendation to install with 6-inch half rounds. I think if you struggle with that and you want to come back and you just can't get the color right, I'm sure we would be willing to hear that argument.
So right now you'd approve probably possibly the roof and half round?
Correct.
But I'll make a motion.
Sure.
I'll make a motion for application CA-23-018 to approve the color of the roof, the metal standing seam roof, with the exception that the gutters will be 6-inch half round.
I'll second.
Was that you, Whit?
Linda Bobby,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly,
Yes.
Will Wardell,
Yes.
Roger White,
Yes.
Pete Lynch,
Yes.
Dave Krieger,
Yes.
Rich Dowdy, yes.
Yep.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
On what would happen if my 4-inch copper could be rehung with different hangers?
You can keep the gutters you have now.
Yeah, because they're existing. Those can go back up. Still 4-inch if the capacity is not doing it for you.
Well,
But that's up to
they
you.
weren't hung exactly right, so I think if they were hung correctly, the capacity
Might be
would
fine.
probably be fine.
So can you retrofit an existing gutter with the correct hangers?
There's a lot of hangers out there, yes.
Okay.
And I mean, I've even seen people have.
Well,
some-
that'd be a good option, Don,
Yeah,
is
I
to
mean-
use your existing gutters.
Don't let your roofer scrap your copper either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That pays for your roof, right?
yeah.
I
Almost.
probably am gonna have to
Well.
get another.
It'd be great to see those, it'd be great to see those stay on the house if that's what you
Yeah, well, I would
choose to
agree.
do.
I guess if no more questions, I'll see what I can do to rehang the copper and also possibly 6-inch color match. And at our age, I'm not sure why we're doing this, but this roof is gonna cost more than twice what our house costs. So,
Oh, my gosh.
and that's,
52 years ago.
that's a fact, so it happens, but,
Well, you guys have a beautiful house and property.
Yeah.
well, appreciate it.
Don, just give me a call if you have any questions,
Okay, I
okay? Do you
appreciate
need your
it.
sample back?
Yes, I would.
Yep, I'll let you know what that guy says too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application?
I want to skip ahead to the end of the agenda here as Mr. Vance was unable to make it. That way, the next applicants don't have to sit here and go through a presentation for nobody to be here. This is for application CA 23-020. Address is 153 Washington Street. The request this evening is for a new 10 by 12 oval deck on the rear of the property. Photograph of the subject home. This home had a major renovation done to it in 2017 that you can see on the screen. The current property owners went through and have done some major upgrades to the house with an addition off the back and then a lot of exterior improvements in the rear yard. The next project they're looking to tackle is a 10 by 12 overall oval deck to overlook the rear portion of the property. For those that are not familiar or unaware, the property has a huge 20-plus foot grade change from about where these rear yard improvements are down into the floodplain below. The applicant is looking to add this overlook deck system looking down to the rear of the property. Apologize for the quality of the rendering here. The scan didn't turn out so well, but I gave you guys a copy of the Trex packet of what they're looking to do. The material sample for the decking is a Trex composite board in woodland brown. That has been passed around. And then the railing around the deck is a Trex aluminum railing that is in the pamphlet a little cleaner than the screen here. If there's any questions for me, I've got to answer. Property owners are here to answer any questions you guys have for them. And this outdoor fireplace exists already, so this is just for the deck and the railing.
How wide are the Trex boards?
I believe they're 6 inches.
Okay.
They're standard. We have identical ones on the back patio. It's not pictured, but these match existing stair steps.
We have a picture if you'd like to see it. So our idea was that this would match that small deck that comes off the family room in the back.
Over here. And they're the same color, correct?
Yes, exact same color.
And would the boards have a gap? Does the existing deck have gaps in it, or are they tight together?
They're very close, but there is a gap. You could put a credit card through.
Okay.
It's like little spacers.
And this is the color of the existing?
Correct.
How much of like the support under the deck would be visible? I don't know if the grade changes like immediately underneath of it, kind of along with it.
For the most part, there's not much, especially further back. It'd be practically at the ground, maybe one step up.
Okay.
And then the grade only falls down, I don't know, maybe 6 inches.
Okay. I wasn't sure how close you were till it like
Yeah.
really took off, so.
It rolls down not too far on the other side, which is why we have the railing too.
Okay, thank you.
So does the deck have a round skirting that
Yes,
goes around the bottom?
he's gonna put a skirting on it with the Trex.
And he's gonna fashion it out of the Trex, so he's gonna actually wrap it.
Okay.
I think on the one side, like where that step is, to me, I think it's a, like a drop where that's.
Right, and we're
where
gonna,
the yard
yeah,
kind of
we'll need a
goes
small
down,
step
which
there.
is why. we
So
moved
that's the
deck.
step down on the far right side of that rendering there? On the.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right there.
And you can see there's a
Oh, right
step
here.
down right there.
Okay.
And then also there's a gap on the other side, on the 2 foot, on the left-hand side of that, right, that's to enter.
There's an opening there as well?
Yeah.
He doesn't show that, but that's what we had intended. that
It's,
we-
yeah, that 2 foot opening is the opening in the railing, you can see.
Oh, so you can
It's
walk
just-
all the way through.
Yeah, on the other rendering, it looked like it was closed to the fireplace, that's there, so it would be right there.
So that side just steps down onto the
Yeah,
sidewalk?
yeah, that would
There's
be-
no
It's like
steps
this,
there?
yeah.
Okay.
Being in the rear yard, it's not visible at all from the street.
Agreed.
The fireplace had to be 10 feet from the house based on
Code.
code. And so that, it kind of messed with our design because we can't see our backyard. So you're sitting there, you have this beautiful fireplace, but you can't look out onto your lawn and stuff. So that's the idea with, in the evening, if we're just sitting out there and we can sit on that side of the fireplace and actually watch the dogs and all that. So that's the whole idea. The fireplace is very nice, but you're kind of tucked in and you can't
You
see.
need a double-sided fireplace now.
We do. But no, we're not going to do that now.
Not yet.
Too late.
Are there any further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve application CA-23-020 as stated.
I'll second.
Roll call, Linda Bovee.
Yes.
Roger White.
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Whitworth Dell.
Yes.
Rich Dowdy, yes. Dave Craycraft.
Yes.
B. Lynch.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank
Place is
you.
looking great.
It'll be nice.
Thanks.
Oh, did you guys need your sample and book back?
Oh, that's good.
The sample's there. Thank you. Yep, yep.
Thanks, guys. I will briefly go back and talk about this application. The property owner had asked that they be tabled to next month's meeting. They were unable to make it tonight. Child had a sports tournament semifinals, so they are prioritizing that, rightfully so, over this. But they will be here for the next meeting in June. Application CA 23-019, address 43 East Columbus Street. The applicants are requesting approval for some modifications that have been made to their May of 2022 Landmarks Commission approval for the new front porch on the front of the home. Just for a kind of brief rundown of the property, I did this when they requested approval for the new porch. This is a photograph we have from 1976 of the subject property. It had functioning wooden shutters on the front and side elevation, maybe on the back. I don't have any photos of that. This was the front porch style that was removed for the new porch that was constructed. A photo here from 2019, again showing the front porch system, the new entry doorway the property owner installed, again the shutters that are on the home. And then after the front porch project, this is what the home looked like at the end. This is after it passed all of its final building permits for the construction of it. I actually went out to take some photographs of the porch to close the project out on my end. And that's when I noticed that there were changes that were made from the design that was approved in May of 2022, so about a year ago. These areas that are up on the screen have what have been modified. Just kind of starting left to right here. The posts on the front porch do not have the decorative cap or base detail that was spec'd. The center of the porch is missing the gable. The shutters that were noted to remain as is have been removed. The porch fascia was to have a decorative corbel component that was on it to dress it up. And then the skirting underneath the porch was supposed to be a horizontal 1x8 board with 1x3 vertical boards attached to the front with an air gap at the bottom, but to give some three-dimensional kind of skirting effect to it. When looking at kind of these areas one by one, taking a look at the porch post, again the decorative cap at the top is missing. The base has been simplified from the design that went about a third of the way up on the porch. The center gable, again, has been removed from the design that was to be under the center window. The skirting has been modified to be like a board and batten style, where it's a solid, I guess, two 2x8s stacked on top of each other with some batten strips across it. The Decorative corbels have been omitted from the design. And then the shutters that are on the home have been completely removed. I talked to the property owner. He noted that all the changes except for the shutters were made during construction by the construction team, noting that they felt that the simplification of the columns looked better than what was spec'd, that simplifying the front porch took the focus off of mainly the crooked window above. The applicant noted, the property owner noted he was not sure what was spec'd at the bottom for the design and thought that what he built was correct. And that this is what the drawings noted should be constructed. Noted that they omitted the corbels. Again, just thought it was too busy, cleaned up the design. And then after the porch was completed, they painted the whole house. And to paint the house, they had to remove the shutters that were there, and decided once the shutters were off, they did not want to put them back up. Basically, he noted that the condition of the existing shutters were in poor shape and would have been not worth the expense to reface them. So I just wanted to kind of present that to you guys here this evening as a quick background. The applicant's statement for their change is noted. They were sent a notice of violation for not following through with the approvals from the Landmarks Commission. It is noted that they did not attend the meeting in May when this got approved. Their applicant was the architect that represented them for it, so the property owners were not here. But like I said, they want to be back next month to have a discussion with you guys. So with them requesting for it to be tabled ahead of time, I don't want there to be any discussion on this. Just wanted to do a quick rundown of what's here. That way I don't have to talk and drag this on so long next month, and we can talk with the applicant directly. In terms of old new business, the appeal for Park Street has been continued by the City Council.
Do we need to table that officially?
The applicant requested for it to be
Okay,
tabled.
so we don't have to do
Yes, you
anything
don't
on
have
it.
to.
All right, sorry.
Nope, it's okay. I should have removed it from the agenda, I apologize. Yeah, you don't have to do anything. The appeal for Park Street has been tabled by City Council until their committee of the whole meeting here on this upcoming Tuesday. They wanted to have a better understanding of the role of the Landmarks Commission. Quite frankly, the City Council seemed unsure of the role of what you guys do. I don't think they've ever looked in our code of what, how you were created, the makeup of the board, that there are criteria for design professionals, residents, business owners, property owners, that, et cetera. They wanted to have a better understanding of how the Old Town Guidelines were created and how they are subjective, property by property. So next Tuesday at this committee of the whole meeting, Lucas and I will be there to help give them information on what your guys' role is, why it was created. Basically, the Landmarks Commission and the Old Town Guidelines, were reinforced through the 1999 Old Town Plan, or the Canal Winchester Community Plan. And the Old Town Guidelines was a direct result of that. The Preservation District in 2003 was a direct result from the 1999 plan. So we're going to kind of touch on history on that, and just really touch on what the current community plan is going through and how everybody is saying to reinforce the Old Town feel and do those types of things that you guys are directly doing on a monthly basis. Just also going to be educating them on kind of how you guys review everything in a vacuum of space and it's property at a time, and context of only that property, and try not to be influenced by what other neighbors have and those types of scenarios that the applicant's job is to do, to bring that up to you guys. So that should be educational. Feel free to come and listen to it, it'll be in this room at 6 o'clock next Tuesday, but it'll also be online to stream, so you guys can listen to it from home. I don't think there's any public comment kind of section to that, so just be like, if you wanted to participate here in the space or online. But hopefully we can get them more information. Right now, they seem to be concerned about how enforcement happens, how we track who does work without getting permits, all those types of things. And they want to know about consistency, like they want to know a lot of information on fencing, like, why was a horizontal fence tonight denied when one last month was approved, those types of things. So we'll try to educate them on that. Other than that, really just trying to keep up with the projects here. We haven't slowed down at all this year. We've had pretty steady monthly meetings. I feel like I know about application items a month before they're on sort of speed, so hopefully we take a break here in a little bit. Other than that, that's all I got for this evening.
Has council seen that guideline book that each one of us has? And I don't know, Linda, do you have the guideline book?
I don't have it personally, but I read the whole thing online
Okay.
before my first meeting.
I mean, we're going to share it with them and show them how to use it as resources, and they've seen it, but they don't like that it says guidelines and it says if or when, or what they want to see is black and white, like, oh, you want a fence, if it's wood it's straight up rail, if it's metal it has the spindles, they want like those to be the only options. And so part of this exercise is to explain that only options don't fit for every single property type, the age of the home, the style of the home, what material the home's made out of, what street it's on, how it fronts the sidewalk. All those things play a huge impact on how you guys vote. And so that's how we're going to try to educate them is, that's why they created Landmark Commission, for you guys to make those hard determinations for them. And just really reinforce that all of the planning efforts that we've been doing have been saying how the community likes the Old Town feel, and that's only upheld by this one body. So that's the biggest, I think, challenge is they're just unaware of how it works.
I wish they would give us, or we had a path to enforcement of things.
We do.
Okay, because
So-
the guy on Tri Street still hasn't changed anything on his, but it seems like they have too large of a window. It's like they have like a year to apply or something.
So, and it's true, I mean, that is true. You have a year to get your application that was approved completed. So in
They
this
shouldn't have a
case,
year to change things that we say have to be changed.
well, so they have a year to get it done.
Okay, yeah.
So if they don't get it done within a calendar year in this case, because what they constructed was not appropriate, then I think, what was that, in February when that meeting happened? It was
Yeah,
snow on the
January,
ground still.
February, yeah.
If they don't get it done by February of next year, then they'll be sent a notice of violation to go to mayor's court
Okay.
for not doing it, and then, they'll have to go through a court process to get it corrected. But then it's also part of the misconception that council has, is they don't think anybody's enforcing it. And a much broader discussion is they want to talk about code enforcement as, in general, and, explore having active code enforcement, because right now we do it on a complaint basis. That's how Landmarks works too. Someone says, hey, my neighbor's doing work, did they get a permit? Or, some of you on the board will be like, hey, something's going on, I remember talking about this. That's how we work for normal code enforcement too. So they want to just explore that and see what it would take to have full-time code enforcement where someone's driving around every day writing violations for every property type. So that's what we'll talk about on next Tuesday.
Oh, I did say that I read the book, but it's been a while back. I know we have Old Town and we have preservation. Are the rules exactly the same for both of those areas?
So the main difference between the two is you have to get paint approval in the original historic district. You do not need to get approval for any paint in the preservation district. Other than that, the two documents are basically the same, except that you are not allowed to do man-made materials in historic period. Like, we have zoning that upholds that. It recommends for preservation district to use man-made materials when appropriate. But it does allow for some flexibility to do, like vinyl products, you know, I guess fake masonry, you know, if it's appropriate. But that's the biggest difference, is we have zoning that requires natural materials in the main historic district.
Andrew, a couple of meetings ago, you said that we had some slate roof applications that were going to be coming in, and we haven't seen them yet.
Now, the one, I ended up talking to somebody about their roof. I let them know what you guys would be looking for. I asked them to contact actual slate repair companies and roof companies instead of shingle companies to evaluate the status of the roof. It went from the whole roof needs to be replaced, it's crumbling, falling off, to the slate roof company says that it's a little tiny leak, they can get it patched, and they can add them to their annual maintenance inspection to let them know if there's anything slipping to prevent future leaks. That was much cheaper than the new roof. So that one dropped off. She actually called me back and said that they're no longer going to replace it, and thanked me for pushing them to other people. The other folks I have not heard back from. I told them we needed information on where it's leaking, how bad it's leaking, the age of the roof, what it'd cost to replace, 10,000 photos, basically all the information to make the big change, and I haven't heard anything back from them. So I don't know if it's a similar scenario where they wanted to replace it with it. Typically it's insurance based, is what I'm finding, is insurance companies will replace it with shingles, but they won't cover maintenance of slate.
When you meet with council, are you going to discuss at all some of our conversations about possibly updating some of the gray areas within the code, within the Old Town guidelines?
It's definitely going to be something that will be brought up, is, we would like to update the Old Town guidelines. As a general theme, when our community plan's done, we want to update our entire zoning code. So this would be something that would either go in tandem with it or immediately, after that. So that's something that we want to touch base on. We also, I think, want to touch base on making the landmarks district bigger. Right now we stop at the county line on Waterloo. We don't go all the way to Canal Cove. So let's grab those other dozen houses, that direction. There are other areas in town that have houses that are over 50 years old that could be added, that have a huge impact on how you see the community. So we want to talk about that as well, is how to make the district bigger. And if we have active code enforcement, then someone can drive around every day and make sure nothing's being done. With updated guidelines that are actually more so rules than guidelines, it gives more direction for people. So that's the route we want to explore.
Is that an additional paid position that council will have to approve? How does that work?
For code enforcement, we're going to recommend 2 either full-time or part-time employees with a new vehicle. If it's part-time, well, regardless if it's full-time or part-time, it'd be 7 days a week. So there'd be an employee that would work weekends.
There's a lot of activity that goes on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
And it'd be more than just landmarks area. It would be the whole city, commercial, industrial, signage. I mean, like everything. So it'd be someone that drives around all day and picks on people.
It'd be a tough job to apply for. No one's gonna like you.
We have court 2 Thursdays a month, and we'd probably, right now, we do maybe 4 or 5 zoning-related court cases a year. We'd probably change it to 8 a month, 8 every court date, 16 a month. I mean, that's how drastic things would change if we go active, so.
Has there been any blatant violations?
Oh, every day, everywhere. It just all depends on the scale, right? That's all I got.
So I mentioned earlier, I feel like, I don't know what the actual percentage is, but I feel like at least a quarter of our applications this year have been forgiveness. It's often, it's at least 20.
Seemed like it.
A little more so than in previous years. So, you know, there's talk about what's not getting enforced, and I think more and more people are like, we should do that. So these 2 applications tonight, I mean, Cantners came through here and we allowed them to tear 2 historical houses down. So they're not new to this committee, and I personally feel like they should have known to come back and talk about the fence. I feel Brian Vanson's is the same. I won't talk anymore about it, but they've been through this committee several times. They got permission for all those things and to make all those changes in the field.
Well, the one that,
This happens a lot.
that really got me, and we failed, I believe, on that one, was Linda's neighbor.
I agree. We
Park
talked
Street.
about that earlier.
Yeah, that one there, we should have done a little bit more than we did, in terms of forgiveness, because that house was done, and they came in and asked for forgiveness on
Right.
everything.
Right, there, and they removed a door on the side. There was a
The door
couple
on
things,
the
couple of
driveway
things that
side.
shouldn't have slipped by.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, knowing that there's someone that'll back us, and that if we knew that council would back us up, then we could do that. But if we start, you know, it's hard to say, okay, we need to make all these changes, and then they just go through a different path, and exactly.
I think if you had a code, you know, an enforcement person going around,
Uh-huh.
we'd catch a lot of these earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And that way we would have them in here earlier, or you'd be speaking
Right.
to them, Andrew, earlier, before they got to the forgiveness side.
It's true.
The problem is a lot of these projects take a day, right? Someone resides a house one day, puts a new roof on one day, new windows one day. And it's those one-day projects that, by the time you go out there, and if I've stopped people in the middle of replacing windows, what am I supposed to do, let them leave an open hole? They've already took the old window and smashed out the, sledgehammer. There's no popping it back in, so, I mean, it is good to help catch them, but nothing will stop somebody from getting the work done before they come in here.
Well, there's forgiveness, but there's also like, we had no idea. It's not forgiveness.
That's true too.
Well, but that excuse is sort of because of the notifications that are being mailed out to these folks. You know, since they started doing that, you can say, well, you had notification, instead of, we don't have an idea that it's going on. Then, you know, that.
Is there any more on the, before we close, adjourn?
I don't think so.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:03.
I'll second. P. Lynch?
Yes.
Dave Kirkcraft?
Yes.
Rich Dobda, yes. Roger White?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Whit Wardell?
Yes.
Linda Bowman?
Yes.